All right, so it is 7:01. I would like to bring the Parks Board meeting to order. We do have a quorum in attendance tonight. Mr. Jeffrey Eason, Mr. Dana Kaiser, Mr. Chuck Hall, myself, Ensign Patrick Shine is with us tonight, and we give him a big hand. He's now an ensign. Mr. Bob Ferguson, Miss Stephanie Presley, and David DeRay. I got it, DeRay. So, we do have quorum. And I guess before we get started, just do we have any public comments? I don't think anybody didn't put anything in front of us for public comments, so I guess we will have no public comments. Unless you have something to say, sir? No. You're good? No. All right, then let's just go right to the announcements and reports, Ronnie.
I'm going to do a little bit, and then he'll do the important one at the end. Not much has changed since we last met. It's only been a month. So we still thank you for those of us who came to our Veterans Day ceremony. It was a wonderful event, as well as Mr. Shrine's. We enjoyed being there. It's a lot of fun. We have our gingerbread decorating. Registration is going to open November 2nd at 8 a.m. on our website. If you have not registered, I have an office stacked floor to ceiling full of gingerbread houses already. So please do. There's enough for all of you. Letters to Santa actually started today. So please have your children, or you, there's no judgment, write a letter to Santa, go ahead and drop it off, and he will be getting back to us. Our Holiday Lights competition will open on Wednesday. We encourage you to either submit your house or your neighbor's house or somebody else's house in Trophy Club. That looks really cool. We love to post those on our Facebook, and it's one of my favorite events to drive around at like 10 o'clock at night looking at Christmas lights. So, and then our last event of the year, of course, is Christmas in the Park. We're hosting that this year on December 9th. We're actually changing the location. It used to be at our Independence East. We're now going to Town Center. So it's going to be there near Blue 22. It's going to be a great event. We're working with Beck Properties. They've been very helpful with us, and we're excited to bring that to you guys. We do have the big one, which is the pool project that council just went before them last week, Monday? Yes, last Monday, that Mr. Angel will have an update for you guys on. Do you have any small update questions?
How about those Texas Rangers? They won since we were here last.
They did, yeah. I'm not a baseball person. I know.
I would like to say I want to thank the Parks team for the movie night at Harmony Park. For those that didn't go, I did go. It was nice. It was a little bit wet toward the end, but everyone seemed to have a good time. So I do want to thank y'all for keeping that going, getting it up. One small suggestion, though, it would have been nice if someone from the Parks team would have come out from under the little tent and walked around and greeted people, saying thanks for coming, be part of that community. I know that's a big thing for the mayor is community involvement. I didn't know if I should do that, but I started to. But I heard in my head you saying we have to be careful about what we say.
Okay.
And do.
You are cleared hot, sir.
Yeah, so seriously, going out and introducing yourself as Park Board and thanking people that come out, no one's going to be angry about that for sure.
Okay, all right, good. And I'll do that next time. But
Well noted.
that would have been something good for the Parks team to also thank the people for coming out, especially the night it was. But it was a great night and a great movie. I'd never seen that movie, so thanks for putting it on.
Absolutely. All right.
Mr. Angel? Do we have more to add on to that?
So, thank you. As Daniel mentioned, the pool project, we did take that back to the council last Monday evening, and we did get approval to move forward with the slide project of the pool. Moving the slide back towards the parking lot a little bit to get a little bit more space up in the pool area. Since that meeting, the architects, Half and Associates, had sent another email back with some alternative locations or configurations of the slide in the general area. And so wasn't in time to put on the meeting for tonight, but we'll be bringing it back at the next park board meeting in December to take a look at and come up with the configuration that we like the best They do have some that addresses a lot of the concerns about space for the swim team to be able to do their swim meets and different things, so that's exciting. As you may have heard, we also learned that it's still going to take about 90 days to design the slides because they still have to do all the laying out the lines for the plumbing and electrical and getting the pumps connected and everything. So that's still going to take about 90 days, then they can bid it. The issue that we've heard today, or late last Friday, was that the manufacturer of the slide company that they're speccing has said they've already filled all their orders for this next coming pool season. So production wouldn't be able to begin until after they get all those slides installed, which will be sometime in May or early June. So then they could start actually building the slides off-site to bring them on to the side and everything. So a little bit of unwelcome news. I did ask the architects to go back and see if we could spec the slides just for an area. If there's other manufacturers, and they've not returned my call on that yet. So we'll keep you updated, and hopefully, like I said, next month we'll be back and I'll have all those answers and everything for the slide. And thank you for the comment about the movie in the park.
Oh.
I wasn't actually there. I was in Midland. The Bobcat football team won their next game, so they'll be coming back this Saturday to play Capel.
Very good.
So, question on the slides. This is for everybody, I guess. Want to certainly provide feedback on slide design and location, but really want to make sure it reflects the wants of the community. So we all have networks and everything that we can engage and see what they think and all that, and I think we should. But is there more we can do as far as feedback? Could we do like a Facebook poll on with certain designs, or just really wanted to make sure that as many people can weigh in on that as possible, you know?
I mean, what I'm hearing is that it's not going to be ready until after the pool season's ready anyway.
Correct.
So I don't really see that there's a huge rush at this,
No, I wouldn't think so.
so.
Yeah, I guess knowing when that decision point needs to happen would be helpful.
So
to
we
your
did
point.
some work on the slide initially when we talked about, I guess we're talking about this thing, but one thing I'll just say though is that a lot of people probably didn't even know what a slide needs to be or should be or could be. There's insurance, all insurance is changed based on what kind of slide, how it's very, very involved. This just might be one of those things that I think we stay the course we're going right now and then come back and look at it with maybe options at that point. Like you get your choice of A, B, or C, which one do you want to
Right.
go? I think would be the way to go.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah, I
saying,
think that's great.
as much community feedback as possible for A, B, or C.
Right.
Thank you.
Ronnie, I got another question for you, and Dean, you might have to tell me if this is the right time or not, but in that same area, on that side of town, the fence that's mangled, is that a Parks and Rec issue, or is that a town issue? I'm just kind of looking for an update on that.
Okay, I can update. I know it's probably not on the agenda right now, but it's future park projects, I guess we can say. But we did get final clearance from the insurance company to go ahead and move forward. I've reached out to a company today. They've given us a quote to see how quick they can come out and put the fence, remove the part that's damaged, and then build back.
Okay.
And one thing we're looking at is possibly bringing the fence in on the property a little bit to make the visibility a little bit easier for cars pulling off of Parkview onto Bobcat, so they'll be able to see oncoming cars a lot easier too.
Okay, it's good to hear, because it looks like it's just continuing to fall even more. I mean, just keeps leaning, so.
Yes,
That's-
it's the
That's good to hear.
walking light and the fence will be taken care of.
Wonderful.
All right. At this time, Tom, I saw your email about the pickleball. There's probably not a lot a lot of updating, but I guess, do we have anything we want to talk about for the subcommittees?
No, and I'll apologize if anybody came looking for a big dissertation from me and don't have it tonight. But I will clarify that on the agenda, it says Parks Improvement Subcommittee. That's pickleball. So that started out as kind of all parks, looking at all parks, and over time it morphed into just pickleball. So that's what that means, and that's right, Dean, we're waiting on some feedback from TMP on that. The Trophy Club Park Subcommittee, not much of an update there either. We hadn't met since since our last park board meeting. Should have another meeting here in a couple weeks, but I guess the only minor update there, one of our immediate topics or concerns last time was staffing. And I understand, I don't think there's any gate attendance right now. Is that
That
correct?
is correct.
So we're looking to hire gate attendants. So if you all know of high school people or whatever that are looking for a part-time job, this could be an opportunity. That's all I had.
So, Patrick, I have a few questions. Who can provide me with the business case for the pickleball court? The revenue generating, the expense? Where's the business case that was provided to the council to make the decision to proceed?
Business case, I don't know if anybody has put numbers to that. We have been cleared for a certain amount to build those pickleball courts.
Are you talking business cases to why we have it at all, or
Yep.
business? Okay, so
Why?
that wasn't really a business decision. That was a community wanted it decision.
Okay, so I'll go back to did we do a poll, and how many people responded yay or nay?
Let's just say there's many people at council chambers, and there's been many people requesting it. It's one of the fastest growing sports, I think, out there, and there was a lot of demand. Overuse of our tennis courts, unavailability of used tennis courts, which don't even work as pickleball courts because of net height and all that. So there was a real community need to have pickleball courts put out. Now, if there's a business benefit to that moving forward, that's something we probably look at, but that wasn't really the underlying motivation to go with pickleball, just to do another service for the community.
I'll say this again, for $1.3 million, there needs to be a fee.
I think
If we're
that's a
charging people for the pool,
I think that's a question better for the city council. We don't make those decisions.
we make recommendations, however.
But we've got a couple city council members here, and I'm saying that it's their spot to speak today, but that, I think, is a better question for the city.
I think that is one of the things that we've considered in the type of course that we're proposing, though, is could that be used for revenue generating type things like tournaments or rent it out for,
Well,
a group or
That's
whatever.
what I'm saying. It was proposed that we would have all these tournaments. Show me the money that the city's going to benefit. That's a business case. If part of the request was because we're going to have tournaments and the city's going to have to fund them or provide people, I assume, that's an expense to the city. So what's the ongoing maintenance or ongoing operating cost of this versus the income?
So there's an expense to everything we do. There's expense to
I understand that.
football, there's an expense to soccer, there's an expense to baseball.
There's an expense to the pool, which we offset by a fee.
All right, so I think that when we start talking about revenues and revenue potential, that has a lot less to do with whether we get pickleball courts or not, but how we would utilize it moving forward. And there haven't been discussions about revenue, charging or not charging. But I think first and foremost, for the people living in town, they want to try and just make it available to them. I think the revenue potential would come with tournaments or structured leagues and things like that, and I think that's when your revenue would come forward. But right now, we're just trying to get the pickleball courts built, just so that people have someplace to play pickleball. And there was a lot of community outreach cry for that. I mean, if there was one thing I've heard a lot about in the last 2 years is where's our pickleball courts? So I don't think you're gonna get any pushback from the townspeople for building pickleball courts for the community.
So we can do a poll and say it's going to cost $1.3 million. and see what the town says.
Well, I don't know that that even matters. It's been approved by council and it's going to be built.
Well,
So for us to go back, the cows are already out of the barn on that one. It's
Well,
already
it's
happened.
never too late until you say I do in front of the preacher.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, the primary goal was to provide a new parks amenity to the town and, you know, the income and the revenue, that was kind of a side benefit. I mean, you know, we don't make any money on playgrounds or tennis courts or basketball courts and that kind of thing, so it kind of falls under that. in
Ronnie,
recreation.
we make income, do we not, at Harmony Park?
We do from the soccer association
Okay.
that pays to use the fields at Harmony Park.
We also make money at Independence Park from the baseball?
Correct. I think what Mr. Shine was alluding to is it's just another quality of life feature that we'll be adding with as such as the playground for the children. And, you know, obviously, there's going to be some time that residents will be able to come up, play without using a fee. But like it was alluded to, tournaments, league structure, corporate events, things to that nature, you know, those will have fees associated with them. And then, you know, the tournaments will be hopefully overnight tournament type setups where people will be going to our hotels,
Right.
being staying in town, going to the restaurants. So there's other revenues that hopefully the pickleballs will generate that aren't necessarily going just to pickleball, but
Okay.
to the town in general.
I think it'd be a good thing to understand, you know, what do we, you know, tournaments and that kind of thing, what do we kind of expect? It's certainly a good thing to understand. I don't think it would make or break the decisions been made by the town that.
Well,
Jeff, I
but it
agree.
could-
I see both sides of it. It's an amenity, people love it.
Agreed.
Tennis courts aren't the right thing, but it's irresponsible and reckless just to say, here's $1.3 million, and we don't know how much it's gonna cost, because there is maintenance involved, there is staffing involved.
There's insurance involved?
Insurance, yeah. And so I probably would vote for it, but it's irresponsible to go forward and not know how much it's gonna cost.
And I will ask this, I would like to know how many people on this board know how many people were seen on the cameras that were placed at Harmony Park to gauge the number of players? By a show of hands, that data was provided in this decision, surely.
All right, I go back to, we can control, we control, we can't control, we can't control. The decision's been made, we're getting pickleball courts, we already know where they're gonna be, it's been approved by council. Moving forward, generating revenues is something we can look at as a park board and see what that, monetize that into the future, but we are gonna get pickleball courts, the money has been allocated, has been spent. I'm gonna tell you something, we spent $1.5 million on a dog park. They're not paying to bring their dogs over there, but it's one of the best things we have in this town that bring people here is they can put their dogs out there. So I think sometimes having amenities for your town, for your people, the things to do and reasons to live here outweigh any monies that they could bring in. So decision's been made. We can look at stuff like what we do at Trophy Club Park. Love your input on that moving forward, and what we could do to monetize Trophy Club Park and some of the stuff we do there. Looking at the pool revenues, looking at the park revenues, that's stuff we can look at. We haven't even built these courts yet, so we can talk about that when that all happens and how we can monetize that.
Well, so the funds have been approved. What about alternatives to building our own courts? Who's approached Club Court, which has 8 courts, all the facilities needed, a reservation system, they do the maintenance. Why couldn't we partner with Club Court?
We have an engineering company that's already done that ship is, we're headed down the track on it.
I'm sorry, there's council members here, so.
We're headed down the
saying
track.
we can't even look at alternatives to
I think
spending money?
we've already looked at the alternatives.
Apparently not.
This is already headed down a path. If you want to fill this room full of people, let's stop this and tell everybody we're not getting courts. And y'all have a room full of people that will,
You would have a room full of people when we tell them it's $1.3 million.
all right, I just don't
So
think.
let's have a
all right,
room full
we're
of people.
Okay, we're going down a rabbit hole here. Let's just, let's let this topic go. We could bring that up at another time, but at this point, I want to move into our regular session. Can we do that? We need to approve our minutes from the previous meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from last meeting? Anybody got any questions?
Looked at them, good to go.
Okay. So, I have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
All right, Rusty Ferguson. Mr. Shrine seconds. All in favor? Approved unanimously. All right, so if you look at item number 4, we were going to discuss the revenues associated with the pool. However, especially like we just had this conversation, I think it wouldn't be prudent not to go down a path of a revenue conversation until we have more data. Specifically, how much revenue did we get last year? What were the revenue streams? Was it groups, people coming through the gate, all those things? Historical data from previous years that we can get our hands on. I know we don't have it back very far because of the computer switch over. And then obviously COVID's in the middle there somewhere. But then more importantly, what does it cost to operate the pool and how much do we think we could offset and where do we think we can make money? Is it on groups? Is it on on the gate? Is it opening up to outside of Trophy Club? Those are all really important questions, but I don't think we want to have those questions until we have the data. Does everybody agree with that?
Great.
Okay, so can we get that, you think, for our next meeting, Daniel? So we can continue the conversation? All right, so with that, we can move to number 5, which I know we do have some data. So let's talk about revenue associated with Trophy Club Park.
All right, so the screens in front of you right now, those are the current rates that we charge at the park, along with Flower Mound, Highland Village, and Little Elm. So this should have similar rates. So for a resident of Trophy Club to come up, it's $2 daily fee, $5 for a non-resident. If they want to do a boat launch, it's $5 for residents, $10 for non-resident. Equestrian, ATV, and so on and so forth for all the way down to the OHV decals that we get from the state. I think we pay $16 for a decal and we sell them for $20, so we're making just a little bit of money on the decals and everything. And so when we go on forward, as far as revenues, you can kind of see let me go to the next screen first. So this is a breakdown of kind of the revenue that the last few years at Trophy Club Park. So general entry for residents, it's anywhere from, $2,000 in 2018 to $10,000 this last year. Non-residents, it's about 4 times as much as the resident rates. So we are seeing the difference there. Boat launches, revenues, residents, non-residents, again, it's about 3 to 4 times the cost for the revenue that we're receiving on those. Horse entry fees, that's from the horse place that's right over, can't think of the name right now, sorry, that they come and ride the trails. And then obviously the ATV is where a bulk of our money comes from, people that come in to ride bikes and do different things. So if we go back to the other, like general revenues, you can see kind of 2021, the park had generated a revenue of $250,000. 21-22 is $422,000. Last year was $310,000 roughly. So, the park does generate pretty good money for what's out there. Obviously, some of that is people coming in, some of the day admissions are people coming in and playing Frisbee golf, people coming in just going fishing, different things like that. So all that's accounted into that. We were trying to get more detailed information. Currently, we have 2 systems that are collecting money. We have Civic Rec that people buy passes on and can go out there and go into the park with a pass. And then we have the Vintech machine that's at the park, and it's, those 2 machines currently, 2 systems don't talk. And so we have to manually separate out all the revenues, and, you know, Daniel's been working hard at trying to get all those separated and everything. And this is probably the best guess, or not guess, but best justification of where all the funds are coming from.
So besides the, obviously the revenue, 22, 23 dropped a lot. A lot of it was obviously due to the grants, 90,000. But like the ATV went down 10, 25%. And the riding fees went down from 15,000 to 7. Is there any reason for that? Do we know?
If I were to guess, it probably has a lot to do with the weather. All the activities are dependent on, like if it's a really rainy season, we have to shut the track down for periods of time where people can't go and ride. That's our biggest revenue that's coming in, so I wasn't here at that time, so I'm just speculating.
It's just a big drop, that's all.
I noticed, if you could go back a slide, I noticed something sort of weird on the on the resident one. Look at 20 to 21 to 21 to
That might be
22.
some
That's,
miscoding.
yeah, that's gotta be some,
Yeah,
something.
I would think it's miscoded. The one thing that, if you go to the next one, Ronnie, the last one. If you look at your revenues, first of all, we're only not all the way through 2023 yet, but with the guard shack not being someone there all the time, and the people figuring out, like I've seen people myself punch in for a day pass, and they got 4 dirt bikes on the back of their trailer, and there's no one to stop that
Happens all the time.
happening, right? So I'd be very curious to see, once we install new equipment with cameras, looking at the gate, looking at the gate, and keeping people honest, what these revenues, what revenues we actually missed out on because we didn't have this in place. Same thing with like the riding, right? You don't, without talking to them, who knows? But I would assume the same amount of horses went through there this year as last year, but we didn't get all of revenue. And that's basically on the honor system deal. We don't really have a way to police that.
Well, I know on the equestrian trails, for example, the trails were shut down for a time period
Yeah.
because of the fire at next door.
Fire, yeah.
When they put out the fire, they had to come in, they took bulldozers through and removed some of the trail that they were currently using. So that eliminated some of their rides that they were doing in different things, so.
So, the fact we still pulled 300,000, I probably could have been 350. You know, who knows what that number would have looked like if we were actually monitoring our gates and stuff. And
What's an example of miscellaneous?
That's what I was gonna ask. That's a huge jump from 21 to 22 and 23.
So the miscellaneous, because of our 2 systems that don't talk to each other, as well as our finance software and code, not everything in years past has been completely described. And so the miscellaneous fund are funds that I could not justify putting anywhere else. I couldn't
might
describe
decline
what those
some of
funds
the
came
stuff.
from.
yeah, accountants love miscellaneous. Miscellaneous, it's office expenses.
No, that could be it. That could be the resident, that might make up for the resident
Could be.
ATV. That's almost the.
But part of it could also be that in 2022 is when the big migration back into the office started. So you had people that were able to go ride during lunch or whatever, and now they've started going back into the office. That could be some of the offset. I agree that it's probably some of the other things too, Ronnie, the fire, seasonal, whatever, but.
The boating pass revenue seems fairly low. I don't care how you slice or dice that one.
The boating pass Similar to the ATV motocross 10 punch pass, the boating pass is the 10 entries for boating. In the last 2 years, we've had one person purchase it.
Yeah, that $90 right there. Go back to the previous one.
It is a bargain if you're looking for it.
It is. So general entry looks like we can trend this, it's moving up, right? Non-resident. You can see the difference, but that's because they pay different, which is fine, we know that, right? The boat launch seems like it's fairly consistent, right? The 2,000, that seems like it's in. But then boat launch, non-resident, again, so the residents have, some residents have boats, so theirs is less. Not too many horses from residents. I didn't see anybody with
No.
horses in their house.
Is that a surprise?
But even non-residents, I remember there was a time years ago, there'd be 10 horse trailers out there, and they'd all be parked in the little parking lot, and everybody out there with their horses, so we don't see that as much anymore. Right? Remember they used to tear up your trails, Don?
Yeah, the other thing is too, they can come in, the other end of the park, and there's no fee.
Oh, there's no fees, so they can sneak in.
Supervision, no gate.
Oh, there you go. They figured out another way in the park.
You go Saturday, the Bob Jones equestrian parking,
Yeah, yeah. That's where all the trailers are now.
that was full. Yeah.
Oh, that explains. Because I know there used to be horse trailers lined up out there, and people riding their horses.
In fact, there's 2 horse riding outfits that you go on their website, and what they do is they take your reservation on the website, and they give you their business address to meet them, sign waivers. It's at the Bob Jones equestrian park.
So we'll have to look into that, I think, in the future. So there's some revenue opportunities here, right? I think the biggest thing is getting the gate where we can charge people correctly coming in, right?
So am I reading that right, that a third of the revenue just comes from non-resident ATV entry?
Yeah, that's such a
Oh, yeah.
big deal, right?
Wow.
It's huge.
That's a huge deal. And that could actually grow more as we get the word out there about this, right? I mean, it could
lot
be even
more.
bigger than it is. How far are we away from the new machine?
We are still going with, working with finance on, they're working on getting a machine for town hall. And for one out there, so it'll be the same machine that can communicate back and forth with each other. So, eventually you'll be able to buy passes at town hall for the park, but you'll also be able to pay, your court fines or whatever on the machines as well. So we're trying to get one that's dual purpose.
I guess without somebody at the gate though, what's the mitigation for people paying the wrong fee?
Well, the idea is we're gonna put cameras out there, right? On the license, capturing the license plates.
Correct. The new systems that we're looking at, pretty much they all have camera systems that record the license plate when they come in
For everyone?
for everyone.
Okay.
And then we can also see what's in their trailer or truck, if it's a open trailer or truck.
So somebody's gonna review all the data and enter that and I guess log it and track it?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have to come up with some type of system to figure that out, but yes.
And so we're going to capture the license plate, and to your point, if they have 4 motorcycles but paid for 1, we're going to send them a bill for 3 more?
That's the understanding, that we'll be able to catch them.
Is that legal?
Well, because what we can do is, and we've talked about this, right? If you enter the park and don't pay the amount you're supposed to pay, we can actually keep you from coming in the park.
Like the next time, like
The
it
next
log
time, we
log
can
that you
stop
did
it.
it
Sure,
correctly.
keep the arm-
When this license plate pops up, yeah, you're
Don't
not
let 'em
allowed in because you beat the system the last time you were in here.
Okay.
Plus, it allows PD the ability to go out and write tickets, should they be inclined, because they didn't pay. Also, we have right now, there's no proof, but now we have visual, the license plate. We can see the dirt bikes on the trailer, and they put in one person going in.
Okay. I just wasn't sure how that worked, because all the police
well, they're-
cameras that do license plates are illegal now, so I wasn't sure how we would send a ticket.
No, I don't believe you get a ticket in the mail, but we can track you. We know the next,
Well, we-
see, the thing is, they know the next time that truck comes in, it's in there. And that the last time you came in, you didn't
Well, I assume
pay.
we have their card number too.
If they could pay cash also,
Uh,
so.
I would say 90% of the time, someone's probably using a card, but yeah.
And then I think also just the cameras keeping honest people honest, right? You're gonna be less inclined to do something if you know there's cameras staring at your license plate, and we're capturing all your information, and we can see you. But I think it's very, very important that that's kind of one of the things that we need to do. Go back to the fees.
I was gonna ask about that too.
We had talked about in years past not charging residents at all to go in the park, was a conversation. If you look at the amount, just general entry into the park, how much money do we generate off of just general entry from residents? It's on one of your slides. It's substantial, it's 10 grand, looks like,
Yeah, there it is.
if we know the number is correct. Because when we were talking about it, it's back when it was the $2,000 variety. Like, nobody was utilizing the park.
Yeah, and, well, and the ATV one screwed up, I think, for residents. I think something dropped off there that may have gotten lumped into miscellaneous.
Yeah, so to use your point, do we know if if you don't have correct data in, correct data out?
Yeah, it's interesting that our fees are lower than any of the other cities. I'm baffled by that. When you go back to sorry, Ronnie, when you go back to the first page, we're $10, $10. We're at 2 and 5. That-
What's the split, I mean, what is the difference between 2 and
Hang
5?
on, Tom, I'll get you. What's that?
What's the difference between 2 and 5 and 10?
$2 is residents, $5 is non-residents.
Oh, no, okay,
Oh,
sorry,
non-resident.
gotcha.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. But in Flower Mound and everywhere else, it's $10 no matter what.
I believe Grapevine's also just $5.
Okay.
And if you look at the annual pass, ideally, if you lived here and you're out there a lot, you just buy your annual pass for $10, right? And that's per family, I believe also, right? Not per person, so.
You know, Dean, and I know that the topic for the pool is another day, but what if we just did like an all-encompassing? You get the fee to the pool, and then that also includes fee to the park as a resident. I'm not saying go outside of the non-resident, I'm just saying as a resident, you can buy a all-encompassing.
So it's an interesting thought. Tom, did you have something?
I was just gonna ask a question on, if you're comparing Trophy Club, Flower Mound, et cetera, are those other three parks on the lake?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Actually, all three of them are. So that's an interesting thought. If you're a
It is interesting.
resident, your family pass, you could be one for the pool, one for the park, or get it combined. You can use all town amenity things. For another fee. How much is, well, what is the current family pass for the pool? $75. Oh, it's quite a disparity between unless we just bolted on the park to buy the pool, give you to throw in the park for free, right? I mean, it probably would be
That'd be hard to come up with for, if you're gonna lump ATV and dirt bikes into that, because that 175-200, that's like, what, like 15 rides or something? That's not like unlimited all year.
Oh,
That's-
the punch
that's a-
passes,
Yeah,
the number
that's
of
a,
rides.
that's a finite amount. But I mean, point's still the same. That's an interesting thought, that maybe, come up with something.
Well, I like to say they're two different people, but I can't say that. It could be the same people, like to do stuff with their families, do both, right?
What do you mean?
No, I'm just talking about general entry. I'm not talking about ATV per se. So you wouldn't necessarily give them AT privileges. You'd have to pay to use ATV whether they're resident or not.
Correct.
Here, you get the punch, you get the, but maybe it
So
doesn't need,
that's just
maybe
not-
it needs
it
to be a
doesn't include
bigger, maybe it could be a bigger $100 for residents and $200 for, gotta be
I
something.
mean, I'm just thinking like maybe at the beginning of the year, you buy your annual park pass, and that goes, you don't even have to worry about buying it for the pool in May, or, that was gonna be my other question, is when does the annual pool rates come out? Is that usually in May or April?
It's a calendar, right? January 1st to.
As far as the,
When we announce to town, like how much it's gonna be for a family pass, or,
so typically the town council approves the rates during the budget process for the following year. So all the rate changes for this year were put in the budget, that they've calculated the budget on for the fiscal year 23-24. So the pool season runs from May through September, into May through September. So the rates that were adopted in the current budget year were the ones that were approved for
Okay, so it's already been,
For 24.
23-24, yes. Unless we come back and request a rate change at some point, which, again, the budget was figured on the daily fees and
yeah.
passes the,
I think it would make sense to raise fees on non-residents if you were gonna look at a fee change of some sort. You know better than anybody, we saw a lot of the 10 punch passes to people, or most of them are just doing the one-time, pay their $30 when
I think we do sell punch passes, but I think the majority of it is just one time, right?
And Patrick, since there's no Flower Mound, Highland Village, and Little Elm don't have
Not even
ATV
close.
parks.
Not even-
Where's the next closest one?
There's motocross track would be the next closest one in like Village Creek, and that's Village Creek, or there's one in Boyd, and that's comparable. That to get trails like that, you gotta go further out, hour.
they gotta go to
or more.
Oklahoma.
But if you went to the one in
Red
Boyd,
River.
how much is it? Do you
Well,
know?
the one in Boyd's a motocross track, so that it's not 1-to-1, but
Oh,
yeah, it's comparable. Those rates were raised a year or two ago, those ATV motocross rates. And I will say this, maybe there's potential for higher rates in the future, but I will say this, we would get nuked if we raised those rates without anything else to offer. Because when those rates were raised a year or two ago, the whole riding community, you could see the forums just lighting up, and everybody's like, for what? Because
So that's if we added that second track or something.
second track, maintenance, just some sort of attention out there.
And is the motocross out below the bridge on 377 going towards 1709?
No,
Is that free?
what that is, that's Knob Hills mountain biking, and that's
Oh,
run by Dorbo, so that's totally different.
Totally different.
Our trails don't go across the creek, Denton Creek.
Oh, no, I knew it was different. I just wasn't sure if it was paid or whatever.
Oh, no, good point. I mean, that is an unbelievable mountain biking area. There was like
There's
15
cars there all the time.
15 some miles of trail. It's awesome for mountain biking, and that is totally free.
Okay.
Go back to the one that shows the revenues by program.
Instead of raising rates, have we thought of like marketing it more, just to get more people there?
Well, that's what we discussed a couple months ago. There's several ATV or motorcycle dealerships in that area, and we thought about, like, we got DFW down in Grapevine, and then there's a couple others in the Metroplex. Getting that awareness out, creating a flyer of some sort, what we have to offer,
Kind of a
Like our
partnership.
social media,
maybe an
or
offer
the boards that we
coupon to
turn
those
off at night,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'll say one of the things that has really helped as far as marketing goes is maybe 2 years ago, we started having a race out there again,
Yeah, yeah.
like twice a year, and that is a huge draw. I mean, you have got, next time there's a race out there, you've got to go check out the park, because there's like fifth wheel RVs that fill up the entire Frisbee golf area of these
Yeah.
guys that come from all over the place.
I
to
was
race.
there, I was gonna play Frisbee golf.
Oh, you've seen
Yeah,
it?
turned
Okay,
around.
okay, you've seen it. And it's not just that weekend either that's massive. That's a huge bump in the riding community, because they come out and they kind of make new trails and groom them and mark stuff, and so it's a good thing. But I agree. I mean, there's certainly room for additional marketing out there.
I really think capturing, making people that are supposed to pay is gonna increase our revenue no matter what we do. I think there's just enough people that sneak through that gate for all kinds of things, whether to launch their canoe or, I mean, I see them park by the gate and carry their boat and go inside. They don't want to pay the fee just to take their boat inside. I mean, I think you almost have to get the VIN machine, get that thing installed and then look at the revenues and then see what you could do and then look at it again and see if that's helped. Because I know even like the OHV stickers, there's a lot of them in there that don't have the sticker on it because we don't enforce it. There's been times you go to the gate, well, we're out of stickers, so just go ahead and go inside. We don't have any stickers.
And Jeff, I'll say this, back to the entry fee, the motocross dirt bike entry fee, the $30, that's per bike.
Right,
So if you
that's
show up with a
Dean
truck
was
with
saying.
3 bikes in the back, that's $90 that you're
Yeah.
supposed to,
That you're
you're
supposed
supposed
to
to
pay.
hit. And that's not a cheap weekend for a family that wants to go out there together and ride around. So I think the rates are, as of today, they're pretty comparable for what you get. And I mean, what you get is, you can justify that because we're the only gig eat around
Sure,
like that.
yeah.
But to go higher than that, you really gotta show something that differentiates, like, why come here instead of.
Yeah, I honestly just didn't know if there were other parks, AT parks around, so.
It is it's a convenient location, very, very convenient.
When they host those events, are those dollars baked in here?
That's a little bit different. So the race series does their own thing, and y'all know the finances on that better. They can do it a few different ways. You can see the revenue directly from those series, but what we've done in the past is we've made an agreement, and correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't been close to it the past couple races, but we've made an agreement, instead of giving us the revenue, they'll go in and make new areas of track or whatever. And it's a good trade-off. It has been a good trade-off because he brings in big equipment, like bulldozers and stuff. And the one time he made a completely new motocross track for us. And that generates a lot of buzz. People want to come check that out and ride it, and, so.
So on top of the redoing the trails and everything, they do donate back to the town between $3,000 to $5,000 per event,
Okay,
so.
And they also took care of the trails. They've done a good job of mark the trails and put up all those one-way arrows and stuff. They did a lot of work, those guys, in years
Yes.
past.
they're a good ambassador to the, it's a very family-friendly thing that they
Sounds like a good trade.
do.
Can we leverage like concessions or anything from like the barbecue place out there, or?
Potentially, yeah, we, there's been 1 or 2 races where we've, a lot of us park board folks volunteer on the side, just helping out on trails or helping out with selling hot dogs at the baseball game or whatever. There was a race where it seemed like they weren't gonna have any food there, so, we got some food trucks out there, but, I mean, to your point, no, that could be an opportunity
it in-house
for
at least.
local,
Yeah.
local businesses. And I know it's a boost for local businesses too, because you got 400 or 500 riders, and,
Yeah.
they're going out to eat, some of them are staying in hotels and that kind of thing, so.
Yeah, they usually start coming in Friday, and then they practice on Saturday and have the races on Sunday, so they're here a lot of times 3 days
Yep.
for the event.
Well, I know we discussed revenue opportunities, but I don't know that we want to make any kind of recommendations at this point, do we? Change
I think the
anything?
new machine is gonna be the big,
Yeah, I think you
Big
got to
lever
know,
there.
I think you got to capture it and drop all the revenues in the correct buckets and then look at the opportunity where it's upside, right?
And are the prices fixed? Sorry, Ronnie. You can stay there. Are the prices fixed into the budget this year as they are?
They are.
Or if we get more data, okay. So then we're still looking at 2025 before we could make any change.
No, we can make a change on a rate, whatever we want.
Okay.
Just the question is, do you want to do that or not, or recommend? Obviously, it wouldn't be us, it'd be council, but do we want to recommend the council to change the rates right now? I think we'd be better served with our subcommittees and stuff, figuring out what amenities we can put to the park. There's some certain things out there, like the pavilion area. We haven't seen revenues off of that in years, and that used to be a little bit of a revenue generator, just having the pavilion. The picnic area. I don't know what disc golf has done for us lately. There's some things that we talked about potentially looking at overnight camping, and there's other things that could generate revenues. I think those are interesting revenue-generating questions that we could have with, and put to the town, is how we think we can drive some revenues into the park over and above what we're already doing. I will say this, though, I think a lot more Trophy Club residents use that park than used to, years past. I don't know if I had $1 for every time I heard somebody say, I didn't even know we had a park. But now, everybody knows that I run into. They know about the park, they've been out there, they've seen it. So that was kind of embarrassing if you just want to know that even you live here and even know we had a park like that, right? So that's, and it shows in the general revenue, residents, the gate revenues. Look, it's gone up fourfold in 3 years, just because people out there are using it. So I do think we have some more work to do in getting the word out for motorized, right?
Absolutely.
And get some more usage out there of the park. So I don't,
That's a double-edged sword too. You gotta be careful. We have some work to do. There's some maintenance opportunities out there and some, upkeep and keeping it safe. There's a lot of people that go out there and don't abide by the rules with, helmets and riding down the street and stuff, so that stuff can be tightened up. That's kind of part of what we discuss in the subcommittee, but,
and I know we want to change the gate area, the entry area. Change the parking to the backside of the gate instead of the front of the gate, right? But a lot of that would be a lot easier to get through council if we can make the business argument as to how much revenue we've increased and going, or where we think it can go with some, some forecasting, financial forecasting. Then, to your point, you could justify a $500,000 spend on a gate area because it's gonna pay itself off in 5 years of increased revenue. So I think with the subcommittee meetings that we have for Trophy Club Park, that's some of the really important stuff we need to talk about, is what we can do to bring other revenue streams to the park and other ways to monetize the park. I don't think chasing these rates right now are the way to go. Maybe you could get a little more on the non-resident, $5 to $10 to match other parks, but I don't know that aside of that, there's anything.
I think, I think waiting for the new machine and kind of seeing where that puts us, and then, as we come up with the Trophy Club Park master plan and where to put funds and everything, then you can start looking at, well, we could maybe charge here, a little more here for this or that. That would be kind of the big movers.
On those ATV, you said those are punch cards?
Well, there's like a, I don't know if it's 10, I don't remember if it's 10 or 15, 10 rides. It's a 10 ride pass.
Could you increase it and just say unlimited?
Well, I think people buy multiple cards, right? There's some of these guys that ride a lot.
I bet
Yeah.
you could put a price on that. You could probably put a
And
price.
I have an unlimited card, but the one's 200 already, right?
Yeah, but I mean, say
That's
somebody
$20
rides
a ride, I guess.
2 or 3 times a week, all year, and
Yeah,
come up with a number and
I mean, that's the only,
discount it,
in order to justify an increase, I'm just thinking but that's gonna require more maintenance on the,
So there's a breakage model on that, right? Guy buys his $300 pass because he plans on riding 50 times this year, right? You ride every weekend for the whole year, and then his bike breaks, and he only makes it out 10 times.
Or we shut the park down.
Or we shut the park down.
Because it rains too much, or there's back in 21, maybe was it, Tom, where it flooded real bad. Those trails were shut down for, I don't know, 2 months or something.
Yeah, you weren't selling too many annual
And so-
passes on that one.
Yeah, that's something we gotta be careful of. Now, we are trying to, one of the suggestions out there for the trails is come up with like you said, a new track or whatever, where we can kind of section off portions of the track, where if it floods, then you could just ride the dry area or whatever to keep it open more often, but, that's the type of things that we're trying to look at.
And there was some thought about putting a BMX, non-motorized bicycle course together on the north side, or on the west side of the road. That wouldn't make all the people that live there angry, because they're just pedal bikes, right?
And that would be more kind of an amenity too for
Right,
residents that are close by.
yeah. So I know it'd be kind of cool to have that.
I think so.
We tried riding on Tom's trails. That didn't go over so well, did it, Tom?
Oh, the horse,
Comment on the BMX, that was proposed a number of years ago, and the Corps shot it down.
Oh, the Corps shot it down. Oh, wow.
Wasn't lake oriented.
So one of the things we're going to be doing in the future, through our subcommittee meetings, is to come up with what we call the master plan. So we can always put this on the agenda so that we can talk about it at meetings. You know, as far as moving along, we add it to the future agenda items. But definitely all of you be thinking, because you're all very smart people, of some ideas that we could have to put amenities to park and how we can monetize that and drive more revenue. Because that's the biggest thing we have in front of us that could really move the needle for money for the town, is driving, because you could realize sitting on 850 acres of stuff that we could do out there, it's a huge amount of land that we could do some things. So that's a big initiative I know the mayor has and council is to see what we can do, because this thing comes up with the Corps in, what, 3 years?
2027.
2027. And it would really behoove us to have this thing up and running really well and organized and thought out plans approved by the Corps for us to keep this thing moving forward. So it's going to be a big deal for us moving up this next year.
there's a lot of potential out there at that park. You just have to be careful of it because, you know, again, the whole thing can flood, so. And then you have rules that the Corps has too, that you have to abide by, so just a lot to consider. But lots of potential out there.
So Ron asked this question, I'm going to have to ask it again. Perfect best case scenario, when could we swap out the machine at the gate with a new one and install cameras and do all that stuff? When would be a
I'd say by the first of the year,
first of the year? We can move that quickly.
by probably March,
Okay, first quarter,
yes.
by first quarter. All right, I think that's important, that we do that so that we can capture the revenues and at least know what we're talking about.
Let me ask this, the new machine, you know, we're talking about a new entry to the park as well, new spaces, new guard shack, that kind of thing. Could the new machine be moved? You know, if we set it up now with our current setup and then if we come up with a new entry, can it be moved to, I assume it could be moved. Something to think about.
I haven't asked that question, but I'm sure it can be. It's probably just a little bit more wiring, conduit
You see
type
where,
stuff.
I guess you probably see where I'm going with that question is we wouldn't want to, you know, permanently install it to where it'd be this huge undertaking or even have to get a new one to move it when we're planning a new entry.
Well, you're just saw cutting, putting conduit down, it wouldn't take much to move it.
I wouldn't think.
The biggest problem is all that parking that's on this side of the gate that I see people park all the time. That parking needs to be behind the spikes, you know what I mean? So to force people in through the gates versus just walking in, right? So with their kayak on their shoulders, walking in, so. All right, do we have any more conversation, at least as far as for tonight, revenues? I think this is very helpful. I don't know that I was aware that we're generating those kind of revenues year over year, the increase, pretty substantial.
I do have one item I'd like to not talk about tonight, but have on the agenda for December, because we are having a meeting in December, is, and Ronnie and I have talked about this over email and in person, is understanding the general maintenance of the parks. And here's where I'm coming from, just so everyone knows. I'm the Harmony Park advocate, because that's the park I go to twice a day. The sign at Harmony Park from 2017 was cracked, broken, set there, wood falling apart. Then we had something at the park, I think in 2019, and they got a landscaping flag and pulled it back together with a landscaping flag and left it. Then it finally fell apart. There's still rotting wood there. And from 2017 until today, I have repeatedly asked about the maintenance in this park. I find it shocking that the sign is not considered maintenance. So I want to talk in general about maintenance for all the parks, not just Harmony Park, but I need to understand the maintenance budget, how things get put on priority lists. Because I would think the sign for 6 years should have been a priority. But maybe that's just Jeff Eason, along with the lights that still aren't working for 8 months now. So how do we have a discussion about overall maintenance and a list of priorities in our parks?
Daniel, we could add that to the agenda, but how would we add that? What would we call it?
Goodness.
Maintenance update of, maintenance
Just a review of
Maintenance strategy.
review of maintenance, yeah, how about review maintenance policies and procedures or maintenance, priority list maybe, or?
Strategy.
We can wordsmith it.
I mean, yeah. and
Because I know
definitely-
we talked about even the gate at Trophy Club Park, that sign needs to be redone too. The UVs have finally taken their toll on it. It needs a new sign and
Okay,
updated.
well, Harmony Park gets a new sign first.
Well, no, but I mean,
6 years.
I'm saying Harmony Park's not alone is all I'm saying. I think
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. It's parks overall. I want to understand the maintenance and the plan because how is it that for 6 years, nobody thought a rotted out sign was worth talking about?
Well, I think actually last year we did have from the Parks and Rec, from Tony, I think there was a bid to fix that sign at Harmony Park. And if I remember correctly, I believe it was close to $60,000, which just shocked the heck out of me. I know. No, seriously, do you remember that?
Well, now,
Yeah, yeah, I remember
Tony
that.
proposed a new sign, maybe that was the $60,000, but there was the new sign that was part of the presentation to the council. I can't remember what it was, Ronnie, but I sent it to you. But it was part of an overall plan. There was a new sign for Harmony Park.
It was the park master plan update that Tony
Right.
was working
That's
on.
what I was gonna bring up.
So we had talked about making all the park signs similar. And that was gonna be a, same type of sign in all the different parks. So every
Maybe
park
that's
would
the
get its name.
$60,000.
And I think that's that number, because we had talked about updating
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Indy East, I think all those signs we wanted to look similar, the same.
So this is a good quick conversation. When I noted earlier that the Parks Improvement Subcommittee had morphed into pickleball, that before it morphed into pickleball, that's the type of stuff we were discussing. And that
Okay,
there's a
how do
big
we
packet-
separate these two?
All right, here we go. I got the answer to this.
Okay.
I would like to add to our agenda for next meeting, the topic of creating some subcommittees, what subcommittees we would create, what those would look like, and then, more importantly, who would be on those subcommittees. So let's put that to agenda, and that could be one of the parks improvement potential.
Sure.
Because we had talked about a Trophy Club Park only subcommittee, and then maybe one that's all other parks. So maybe that's a subcommittee conversation more than a maintenance priority list, what kind of
Well, I
subcommittee.
still want to see the maintenance and priority list.
No, but I think they're two separate things, but I think we could, once we decide that's a thing, we could pick that up in a subcommittee. Because that would be the best way to get your concerns out, being a subcommittee and then brought to the park board.
Jeff, I think I know what you're saying, and I'm curious that too, just from a high level of how is there a strategy or a method right now of what differentiates kind of regularly scheduled maintenance versus an improvement that would need further
Right.
discussion? I guess is that kind of what you're saying, like
Yeah.
mowing versus the
And not
signs
just
busted?
signage. So those fields generate income from the soccer association. But yet Jorge will sit here and tell this board that the sprinkler system is antiquated and needs to be updated.
example.
There are parts of that that don't even get watered, and it's clear they don't get watered.
Well,
It
good.
generates income. Why is general maintenance not being done on it?
So I got great news. We have a new town manager. And we're getting a new parks director, so I think all those will be good topics for those two gentlemen, or lady and gentleman, whatever that may be, and I think it'd be a worthy conversation into the future, for sure.
We
But,
could, we could start we could have a conversation next
no,
agenda,
we can,
right?
we could
And then-
bring up some concerns and let the next person, we won't have a new parks director by our next park board meeting, I don't imagine, but we certainly could have some conversations.
So that and the subcommittees.
Definitely want to have the subcommittee conversation. I know it's something that the mayor wants, something that we need to do. So I think that would be a good time to talk about who's going to be on the subcommittees and how we're going to structure those.
So housekeeping note on subcommittee, there's been interest on some of our existing subcommittees. And I think residents, it's no problem to jump onto a subcommittee, but it's more formal if board members want to join a subcommittee, is that right?
So, speaking out of turn now, I don't know if that's fully been decided yet, the structure of the subcommittee, is that correct, Daniel?
It hasn't. It's a gray area at the moment. They're working with the town
Okay,
attorney
okay.
and the new town
All right.
manager.
Certainly, citizen input, the subcommittees are going to be there.
Sure.
Anybody can come, it can be invited to a subcommittee meeting if you're not on the board. But the structure of it has to be determined yet, right? We're still looking at that. That's why we haven't done it yet. So I'm hoping before our next park board meeting, we have some clarity on what a subcommittee might look like and how it'll be made up. Okay. All right, so do we have anything else for future agenda? We're gonna add that to it. Do we have any more conversations? If we don't hit to have any more I guess we'll have a conversation about the pool, correct? And then, do we want to put Trophy Club Park back on there again to have a conversation? We just leave that off for now. We don't need to probably talk about that in December, I don't imagine.
No, I do intend to meet at least, sometime in December, but we don't.
All right, so we'll have a meeting, a subcommittee meeting, because that one is in place. We'll do that in December. We'll have a meeting ahead of the, so I guess we'll have an update on Park Board meeting, or Trophy Club Park as well. All right, is anybody else, anything they want to discuss, talk about?
Is the next meeting the 20th?
Oh, let's talk about our next meeting. We already figured it out, right?
Yeah, we did. That's, I just wanted to reconfirm. The 18th is
Well,
where,
yeah, it has to be the 18th, because that Christmas week would be problematic.
yeah.
Does that 18th work for everybody here? Anybody,
Works for me.
works for all of you, 18th?
Yep.
Gentlemen, works for you? Sir,
You mind if I say something?
come on up.
Steve Flynn, I'm on town council, and Luann's here as well. You know, there's a reason why we come to some of these meetings, as many as we can, because we listen to you guys, right? I heard a lot of what you're saying, Jeff, and I wrote, a lot about some of the issues you guys brought up, whether it's the pool, pickleball, whatever it is. As council, we have those too. So that's why we sit out in the cheap seats, because we're concerned. We take the notes, but, reach out to us also. That's helpful. So you guys are doing a great job. It's a big group. It's an important group, and there's a lot on your plate. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. All right, it is 8:09. I move to adjourn the park board meeting.
Second.